Hello guys, it's me, Future Filmmaker 39480, aka Josh here again. And yesterday was the 1 year anniversary of one of the most divisive, but also one of the most underrated comic book movies of last year. And that is Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. And I wanted to take the time to present to you guys my fourth and final video of this movie, me talking about it. This is basically an analyzed movie review where I talk about this movie from what other people say, from my perspective, and just basically touch on certain things I want to talk about. So, you guys I think you guys are gonna really enjoy it. And so, here's my analyzed review of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Enjoy the show, guys. Spoilers. The following is an in-depth analysis. If you haven't seen this movie, you may want to before watching this review. Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice was a movie that I was very excited to see because it would be the first time we see Batman and Superman together on screen. It would also been the first time we see other characters like Cyborg and Aquaman and, of course, Wonder Woman. And when the news of this movie was coming out, that it was originally going to be Man of Steel 2, but instead they cast Ben Affleck and Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, and they titled it Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Originally supposed to came out in 2015, they delayed to 2016 so the filmmakers can get more creative with their vision and focus on it. And this is my fourth and final review for this, and I'm here to analyze it. So, as I said, I was excited for this movie. But then the Rotten Tomatoes score for the movie had me a little worried because some people saying this was a bad movie. Since this movie, Suicide Squad has also gotten a bad rating, which I also enjoyed. And that movie was underrated. And also the very underrated X-Men Apocalypse, which is a movie that a lot of people hate, but the audience enjoyed. So, let's get talking into Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. My goal with this analysis is to not change your mind, but to get you to see my opinion on this film. As I, Joshua Drake, aka Future Filmmaker 39480, talks in depth about it. Let's start off with the one thing that people have the problem with the most: the Martha twist. I thought the Martha twist was a really good twist, and I thought it was a really interesting twist, and I was very okay with them deciding to go there because all Superman wanted to do in the fight with Batman and him was to try to get him to listen so he could save Superman's mom. But instead, he becomes the victim who shot his parents at the beginning of the movie. Bruce does. And I think that scene was emotionally well done. It was emotionally handled. It wasn't chopped up together. Yes, the theatrical cut of this movie had a lot of problems, but I thought the ultimate cut came in and fixed those problems. And to me, this is one of the most underrated movies out there. It didn't deserve all the hatred, and it still doesn't. I don't know why this movie still gets hated on. The characters of Superman and Batman are really fleshed out, and you get a lot of good time for good stuff in the movie. It focuses on story and characters before action, and I think that was a wise choice that Zack Snyder chose to make. And the Martha twist I thought was a really great scene, and I thought with that was a pretty awesome thing. Now the fight between Superman and Batman, people complain that it's only 5 minutes. It should have been longer. But me, honestly, I don't think it should have been that long, because it would be like a Revenge of the Sith style fight. Sorry to all Star Wars fans, but I thought the fight was as short as it needed to be. It didn't need to be too long where it would completely get uninteresting. And I thought the fight between them was well handled, well choreographed, and well written. Henry Cavill's performance, as well as Ben Affleck's performance, with the classic line saying, "I understand." That was a really amazing line. And this movie has some very quotable lines, including, "Tell me, do you bleed? You will." And my favorite line from Batman in this movie is at the end of the movie when he goes to talk to Lex Luthor in prison, saying, "Wherever you do, wherever you go, I'll be watching you." And I think the fight between Superman and Batman was well handled. I didn't understand why people were hating on the fight, because it's supposed to be an awesome fight. It's supposed to be the epic showdown of all showdowns. And I guess some people just kind of missed that. But with me, personally, I thought the fight was just really entertaining and really fun. It was so fun, so cool, and it had a lot of awesome moments. But one thing I do have to go praise is Ben Affleck's portrayal as Batman. I thought he was a perfect choice to follow the footsteps of Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, and Christian Bale. You probably wonder why I did not say George Clooney, because George Clooney sucked as Batman and Batman and Robin. But Affleck is my second favorite, and I thought his portrayal of an older Bruce Wayne and Batman was exactly what the movie needed. And I thought Zack Snyder casted him perfectly. And I thought Gal Gadot was casted perfectly as Wonder Woman. These are two actors I have defended casting choices for since this movie was first announced. And I don't think anyone could have played the character better. Now, why is Batman against Superman, of course? Well, if you've seen the movie, Batman thinks that Superman is a threat to the world, and Superman thinks Batman is a threat to the world too, and they get caught up in this fight until they figure out what's really going on, which is Lex Luthor plans for both of them to fight, but if Batman should fail, he has a different weapon. And I think the marketing of the movie really sold me on it. Yeah, they did ruin a couple of things, which Justice League's marketing is definitely making up for by not showing Superman in the trailers. Even though it's kind of a little disappointing, but I can get over it because it's for the best. Maybe it's best they don't show him in the trailers. And I thought the fight between Superman and Batman, again, very awesome stuff. A great score by Hans Zimmer and Junkie XL, including the awesome Batman theme and the amazing, magnificent Wonder Woman theme is just very, very well handled. And I think that is just something really special. And the Wonder Woman theme I love so much that I actually want to put it as the ringtone on my phone for when I get a call. I'm sorry I had to make a little joke, but it's an analyzed review. So now, another people have a problem with are the Justice League cameos, saying they're out of place. No, I thought the Justice League cameos were handled well. But I do admit they could have been at the end of the movie, especially Aquaman. Now, Aquaman, I was expecting to show up in the movie all at the end to help Lois. And some people have said that. But me personally, I think if they would have had Wonder Woman kill Doomsday, it would not been right. Because Superman, he says that this is my world. And he looks at Lois Lane, smiling to her, you are my world. And then he goes to save the world by killing Doomsday. Which leads me to the death of Superman part. Some people like it, some people hate it, but I personally love that the death of Superman was in this movie because it added a much more emotional ground to the story. Because if it was in a later Superman movie, I think it would have been a little bit too late. And plus, Warner Bros. Has been trying to do the death of Superman for more than a couple of years. And just, I thought that Zack Snyder and Warner Bros. They had the nerve to do that. It's not every movie where you get to see a comic book character get killed off. This was the first time they did it, and the second time they did it was Logan. And both of them I really appreciated for trying that approach. And people complain about Superman, saying he's not smiling enough. He always has to be depressed. He always has to be this and that. You know what I say? I've been defending Henry Cavill's Superman ever since I first watched Man of Steel. I think he is just as great as Christopher Reeve. I think Brandon Routh was also really great as Christopher Reeve. But I thought Henry Cavill played a much more straightforward Superman. Yeah, he's not smiling, but people, I have to respond to that criticism, saying that he does smile in Man of Steel and in Batman v Superman. He just doesn't smile a whole lot because of what he's seeing, what has happened. And I love the relationship he has with Lois Lane. I think the relationship is really good. And people complain about the Africa scene too, saying it was not needed. I thought the Africa scene served a really good purpose for the movie. And the character of Superman, why do I like him? What makes him so great? What makes him so super? Well, I like this version because he's not becoming the perfect Boy Scout Superman just yet. But trust me, Henry Cavill has stated in an interview that we will get there. And once we get to that point where he is classic Superman, I think people will finally get excited and finally be happy. Even though there's still going to be the complainers, but Cavill has clearly stated in interviews that his Superman will become classic Superman. But it does kind of make me a little bit upset that some people cannot accept that filmmakers are doing something different with characters we love, trying to reinvent them to get them to where they need to be. But I think I accepted it just fine. I think it was a wise decision for Zack Snyder to do. It's just so cool, and to do that, just for Zack Snyder to have our character Superman take a journey was just so well appreciated and so handled. And a lot of people complain about the screen time of Wonder Woman. We don't know her as a character yet, but we got her solo movie coming out on June the 2nd to know her as a character. And I think that is what really is going to help. And just, I think that was really cool. Now, Doomsday. This was something that was in the trailers. I do kind of wish they didn't reveal it in the trailers, because it's a great reveal in the movie, but you should not have shown Doomsday in the trailers. I will admit that. But it was, and they could have used a different villain, but it was worth seeing our Trinity here fight them, because it gives you a taste of what the Justice League is going to be. And I think that is what really sells on the film's part. There's also a very amazing line where Superman says, "The bat is dead, bury it." I think that line is just one of the greatest lines ever in a movie. And that is just a perfect scene to have Batman and Superman meet each other. That was a very amazing moment. And when Batman and Superman fight, I was just sitting there like, oh yes, this scene is just incredible. And I think Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice is full of hope. I think this movie does show hope, because Superman's cape does mean hope. And people don't want to see the character of Superman take a journey. I thought Superman taking a journey is exactly what the character of Superman needs. Because I am kind of getting a little tired of seeing Boy Scout Superman all the time. But I will say that I do think that the character of Superman is really good and really very creative. And just when you see Superman there, it is kind of amazing. Now, basically the whole story of this movie, people's had trouble figuring out. But I'm going to talk about it in a more analyzed way. The line, "power can be innocent," compactly summarizes the whole point of this movie. Lex Luthor says, the first line in the movie, where he says the oldest lie in America thing. He thinks he is anti-God and believes that if God is all-powerful, he could not be all good. If God is all good, he could not be all-powerful. So basically, he framed, demonized Superman, and even pitted Batman against him just to prove the said idea. Bruce is already 20 years into Batman, and he has seen good guys turn from good to bad. He first-handed witnessed the destructive power of Superman and became paranoid about that. He then developed the notion, if there is 1% of Superman going crazy, even though he seems like a good guy right now, we have to take it as an absolute certainty. At the Martha moment, which I just talked about early on, he sees the humanity in Superman and chooses to give him a chance. Maybe men are still good. Maybe some people are just way too suspicious. Maybe I should have faith in the 99%. But it does not mean he gives up on killing thugs if necessary. It just means he believes Superman can be all good without ever turning bad. So in that case, he spared him. With all the hatred from Lex and doubts from Bruce, between choosing be their monument or be none of it, Superman chooses to use his final power for the ultimate sacrifice and saves them all. Which, of course, that is the death of Superman scene. Which indirectly proved that power can be innocent. And that's basically the story of the film. And again, this movie is full of hope. I don't see all the negativity about it. This is just a really good film. And I think the court scene, it could have been a little longer, have him talk to the courts about what he done, because I like this Superman because he's going through life lessons. And I think Zack Snyder shows it in an interesting way. And Jeremy Irons and Ben Affleck's chemistry as Bruce and Alfred is some of the coolest chemistry I've ever seen since Christian Bale and Michael Caine in the Dark Knight trilogy. Jesse Eisenberg some people has hated on him, but I'm one of the few people who will defend him. And I will say he's fine as Lex Luthor, but he needs a little bit improvements. And the main problem with Affleck's Batman is that he kills. I know people are going to get on to me for it, but yes, Keaton killed. Even the Superman, the comics killed. And that's something I don't accept, but I go along with it because I don't have much of a choice but to go along with it, and just because it's also something that we have to go along with. You can't change comics, and I think when you see Batman killing people, that is as awesome as it is. I really hated it, but I've kind of gotten over it, and the suit that he creates is just really cool. But I still find that a lot of things that really shows what the character of Batman and the character of Superman is. And I think Wonder Woman in this movie, she gets some amazing play in the film for her screen time, and especially when Superman just and Batman and Wonder Woman, they come, and just Wonder Woman, when she goes up against Doomsday and when she makes the jump, and her battle cry is just one of the best battle cries, warrior cries I've ever heard. And I think the flashback that Batman had in the movie when he sees that what's going to happen is wrong, it's just really cool. And then that nightmare sequence is really cool. It kind of reminds you of a Mad Max-like type of scene. And I think it was really cool. And the ending, for anyone who doesn't know, the ending is basically Superman getting ready to come out of his tombstone. Yes, spoiler warning, Superman dies in this movie, like I said. And I think the funeral scene is just pretty cool, and I think some people really do enjoy seeing it, and just the story is really awesome. I felt like he wasn't shooting the guys directly, but Batman is just freaking, he killed them. And this is one of my favorite DC things. And when Let's gets his hair cut off, this film is just there's a lot of character development. You can't make a superhero movie without the action. You gotta have character development, you gotta have a good story, and you gotta have action, because that's what people go to see a superhero movie for. It's not, because if you easily just do a whole lot of character development in a movie, but eventually your audience will be getting very bored with it. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, because this is still a fun movie. It's still a very enjoyable film. But I also have to talk about one final thing before I sign off on this analyzed review. And that is, of course, the communion scene in the Ultimate Cut. The communion scene was a really amazing scene, and you get to see the hint of Steppenwolf, and when Lex Luthor is saying that the God is dead, that's a amazing scene. And again, the final fight with Doomsday and the Trinity, really amazing fight. I can see what's going on. You see Batman kicking ass, Wonder Woman kicking ass, and Superman kicking ass. And then the shot of Superman and Doomsday shooting their lasers off each other, that it feels like you're watching a Dragon Ball Z moment. And that was one of the coolest things I liked from Man of Steel. Now let's talk about the final fight a bit. People complain it's too much of Lois in the final few minutes. And I think it was fine because it gives you a taste of what we're seeing from both Superman and Lois helping each other. Lois saves him from almost being weakened and dying from his kryptonite. He saves her from her powers. I mean, from drowning to death. And I think in a way that's helping each other overcome their fears. And I think that was just something just really shows what it shows. And the final fight shows exactly what the Justice League will be. You get an amazing fight with the heroes, with Doomsday. And I thought the scenes of Superman saving people were really cool. And Superman's not going to be able to save everybody. We have to understand that. Just that moment, Superman, he's not going to be able to save everyone. He is going to have to learn some life lessons. It's important. Those are very important. And when you learn your life lessons, it helps for you to become better at saving the world. Especially with Supergirl. Supergirl is Superman's cousin, and they also have the same powers, same weaknesses. But Superman's funeral at the end of this movie, I really enjoyed it because it wasn't a classic funeral where we all missed him, but it was a very heavy and guilty of proof of how humanity betrayed the man who could so easily suppress them, made the world his own, or wiped out all life. But instead, he tried to remain protected world and live as a man among the people he's always forgave. And Superman is the man who could travel through the sky, but who wanted to wander among the people. And then that funeral scene is just really good because I felt like that scene was just really cool. I see it like this. Batman is Odysseus, Superman is Hercules, and Wonder Woman is Penthesilea. And just these characters are just, this is something that some people still hate, but it's still a very joy to see. And I actually like that Superman is the one who makes the self-sacrifice, because Wonder Woman had to use the lasso, and if she would have used the lasso and the spear, there was no way they would have been able to stop Doomsday from the destruction. And the line where he says, Superman says, "This is my world," and says to Lois, "You are my world." That is the moment where I think he becomes the Superman that we all know and love. And I believe that his death and the rebirth will transform him into a more happy and hopeful character coming in Justice League this coming up December. And it's so fitting that the world immediately responds positively after that moment. And I think it is the moment where he finds his center and he knows how to operate in the world. And Superman's death is one of my favorite things in the movie. It's emotional, it has meaning behind it, and influences the overall story. And Zack Snyder and Warner Bros., I have to thank them for being brave enough and bold enough to go along with it. And yes, so far DC has not killed off one of their best villains. Not even the Joker. But we all know that Doomsday is probably not really dead. He can probably come back, but I just hope that he stays dead because just this moment is just so upsetting and so emotional because you see how Superman is having to do something like this. And overall, I think the movie did this job well with the story and the characters. And the idea of killing off a superhero in a movie is something that no one has ever done before. And it robs the film of the classic happy ending in superhero movies. It is something that no one has ever done, and it was a huge risk, but killing Superman off is the best way to bring the Justice League together in the DCEU. Superman's death inspired Batman to care more about the lives of enemies and to seek out allies and metahumans instead of considering them as threats. And that's pretty much my thoughts on the death of Superman and how analyzed. And they could have done it with Steve Rogers at Captain America 1, but they didn't hold their nerve. And Avengers could have commenced with the resurrection of Steve Rogers, but I'm so glad the Justice League got to do it this way because those that missed the point will certainly understand it when Justice League is released in November. And I fully think that what Superman has done at the end of Batman v Superman was a brave and wise choice. He chose to sacrifice himself for the world. He chose to do something that he wanted to do. And no one was stopping him. And he made a choice that that made him just really cool. And anyone who, and those was really cool, and I really do enjoy the aspect of it. So overall, those are my overall analyzed thoughts of Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice. I still don't understand the hate, and I still don't understand why people still hate this film. The hate is not worth it. This is still a fun movie. It's still cool, and it's still great to see three of our DC heroes, Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman, all together fighting in the last couple minutes against Doomsday. And it's also really amazing to see these characters to finally get together in the upcoming Justice League movie in November. And basically what this film has done, it has left a big impact on me, and this will be one of those movies that's going to be looked at as a cult classic and as a misunderstood gem and seen for what it is. A very underrated masterpiece that was trying to do something different with the superhero genre and turn it on his head, other than just about a movie with two people fighting each other. And that calls for a really amazing thing. And just that alone, and just from the analyzation I've gave, is just wow. And just the moments in this movie are just really cool, and there are a lot of great moments. Sure, for some people it is a disaster. Some people may not like it. Some people may not enjoy it as much. But me personally, I find a lot of enjoyment in Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. I think this is my favorite superhero movie of all time, and I stand by it, and I can say that because I'm not afraid of saying what I feel. I think there's an audience for this movie. I think people will look at this movie as a cult classic, and people will grow to appreciate what Zack Snyder has done with this movie. It needed story and good characters. Otherwise, I would not like this movie the way I do now, do I? So, so yeah, that was my analyzed review of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. I love both the original and the ultimate cut, and the ultimate cut is the version I think should have been put in theaters. If it was put in theaters, I think it would have got a much better critical reception. Thanks for watching this analyzed review, guys. If you like this, you can click here, and we can all have a good time. Until next time, enjoy the show.